Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John, and it's time for another episode of, wait for it, Rock Gone Raw. Today I have the wonderful pleasure of reviewing the 7th studio album by the Canadian pop and rock band Theory of a Deadman, or Theory as they like to be called at this point. Whatever the hell you want to call them, this record is called Say Nothing, and I'm sure that you have so many questions already, like why are you reviewing this in a Billie Eilish tank top of all things that you could wear? Well, contrary to popular belief, it's not to just show off this massive barren wasteland of white arm over here right on a white boy, it's actually just to show off the fact that Billie Eilish is more of a rock star than Theory of a Deadman at this point. Theory of a Deadman. Let's get some backstory on these guys. So they formed in the early 2000s. They were the proteges of Chad Kroeger of Nickelback fame, if that gives you any indication of what sound they were going for. Very post-grungy, very not thought out at all. I mean, some of the early songs like Santa Monica I can definitely dig, but past, say, Scars and Souvenirs, that's where they really towed the line of cringeworthy. Their last rock album, Savages, came out in 2014, and I was very off-put by that, but not as off-put as I was by Wake Up Call, where they dragged out and milked the single RX Medicaid to death. And now here in 2020, they've released Say Nothing, where they have to be self-aware about that album title, right? Because they literally circle the drain saying absolutely nothing. Who was calling up Theory of a Deadman to say, hey, Tyler Connolly, lead vocalist of Theory, I want to know your take on race relations. I want to know what you think about a lot of social issues that are facing North America at this time. Could you just write me up a Wikipedia synopsis of all those songs and then put out the most generic, vague description you could possibly paint and then put yourself in said painting even though nobody asked you to be there? Great. That phone call never happened. There's been an undeniable shift in sound for Theory over the past few years, and it did start with Wake Up Call. Now it's Say Nothing. They've made album number 2 with producer Martin Tariff. Tyler Connolly is writing songs on the piano at this point, and that begs the question, after hearing this empty shell of an album, who is unironically listening to Theory at this point? Who are they making music for? Wake Up Call debuted at number 24 on the Billboard 200 albums chart, and where did Say Nothing fall? At number 116. 116! That is like a free fall from space, a meteor just exploding somewhere. And there's nothing left for Theory at this point. Okay, so to describe the overall sound and tone of Theory of a Deadman's new record, Say Nothing, imagine with me for just a second here that Theory of a Deadman are out here trying to do some woke commentary that nobody ever asked for from them or would have expected from the guys who make songs about strippers and bitches that come back. Then we have White Boy, Ted Bundy, Affluenza, and History of Violence. All of these tracks are indicative of the vibe that they're going for. They're trying to be serious and have this very ambient, open tone. They so desperately try to enlighten others on this record as they talk about social issues, but I genuinely don't believe that they did anything other than Google a list of problems facing North America right now. What are some trending topics? And then they went over, wrote up a Wikipedia-styled synopsis, and then put it into song form, dumbing down any actual commentary or politicism or anything that could have maybe persuaded me to come over to their side or see things from a different point of view. No, these just feel so incredibly empty. At least when they had the heavy guitars and the 3 extra words in the band name, I could tune out the lyrics and just focus on the noise. And now I'm left with nothing but an empty void of the men who once were Theory of a Deadman, now Theory, now a pop producer, and I just have to say, I mean, if they know anything that's good for them whatsoever, this will be the last of the pop albums, and they'll return to rock and just beg for your forgiveness next time around. Let's let a giant cat out of the bag. The vocals on this album are horrendous. Tyler is always attempting to have some sort of flow that's in between rap and singing. He's just kind of fluctuating and doing a lot of nothing. If you were looking at an EKG machine, it would be your heart flatlining the entire time, and that's never a good sign. It's hard to tell if Tyler actually believes that he is the god and the prophet from above that needs to be painting himself into all of these pictures to talk about these tough topics, or if he's trying to write from an outsider's point of view, does he genuinely think that he has the expertise to comment on these tough topics when in reality he's offering nothing new to the situation? There's no commentary and there's no answers. He even talks about that on tracks like World Keeps Spinning and It's All Good at the end of the album, when it's not all good at all. After all these other 9 songs talking about a lot of problems and then it's all good? You never gave any answers there, and you don't say anything of substance on the closing track, so I'm led to believe that you know nothing. Nothing ever pops their musical bubble, ever. It's just an album that coasts by without leaving an impression, and when it does leave the impression, it's one of, wow, I hate that I wasted my time on this. I feel so angry now because Theory wasted my time yet again. And as you listen to the album, you can't help but feel that the rest of the members are just sitting on their hands wondering, when am I going to get to jump in the mix and play a few measures on this track? Oh, Tyler, pretty please, could I play a faint guitar in the background of History of Violence or Ted Bundy? That would just be awesome. Oh, cool, we can? Great. Just make sure it's just muddy in the mix, muddy as possible. And Martin Tariff, to this band's sound, it's kind of like kryptonite, and they don't even know. I mean, Superman could at least recognize his weakness. Theory are just over here doing round 2. Does anyone actually listen to this and feel satisfied? Secondhand pain is felt as I listen to every song here. I just imagine them sitting around in the studio high-fiving each other and saying, yeah, dude, that's it. Man, you really nailed that. That was a tough topic to cover, and you took it deep, man. You took it from the kiddie pool to like the ocean, man, like high five. Attempting to twist expectations by bringing in strings, trap drums, keyboards, and whatever the fuck else you want to isn't gonna do a damn thing if you don't have true spirit to your punch. And unfortunately for us, the listener, Theory swing and miss 10 God-forsaken times. Now I know what architects meant when they said all our gods have abandoned us. To really zero in on why this album crashes and burns every time it tries to start the car, I guess we'll talk about some of the worst songs it has to offer. Ted Bundy is a prime example of why this album doesn't work at all lyrically. It tries to get inside the mind of a serial killer, and I don't think that Theory really understand the importance or the consequence of writing about some of these subjects. Baby, you know, I love you to death. That's the hook on this one. There's strings, there's some soaring guitars even in the background of the track, and Tyler's voice, I suppose, in terms of singing, is better than on some of the other tracks, but the lyrical content is actually so much worse than many of the other songs. I think they try to fuck themselves up at every corner, because despite the fact that it does have a decent melody for once on this album, they undermine that by writing about the serial killer. However, that is nothing compared to the absolutely catastrophic levels of cringe we get on Affluenza. Hands down, probably the worst song that I've heard in 2020 outside of Justin Bieber's Yummy. The vocal effects done to Tyler here and the way that he tries to talk about his own childhood while also talking about these mass shootings and other things that, oh, the white boy was stricken with the affluenza, which is like a disease, and obviously they're trying to pack in a loaded gun's worth of commentary on the track, but they're spraying blanks. Please spare yourself the emotional rage and don't listen to White Boy either. That song attempts to give the most basic explanation ever as far as mental health and why a lot of white kids, primarily male white guys, have been shooting people at alarming rates, and obviously it's horrific. But Tyler kind of chalks it up to these losers sitting in a parent's basement just plotting this shit, and it's never as black and white as he paints any of the scenarios on this album to be. I'm done. I'm done. I'm out. I'm done wasting your time and my time talking about Say Nothing by Theory of a Deadman. This is one of those just complete misfires that I truly don't understand how it happened. And obviously, I'm stoked to see that it bombed on the charts, because if this is something that was actually massively successful for them, I would really be questioning humanity. Without a doubt, it's their worst album that they've ever released, and it will go on to be one of the worst albums of 2020 in its entirety. Personally, I'm feeling a 0.5, a half star out of 5, for Say Nothing by Theory of a Deadman. Rock gone wrong? I guess I technically could have called this pop gone wrong, but what did you think of the new Theory album? Let me know in the comment section down below, drop a like on this video, and keep in mind, it's all just my opinion. Anyways, if you want to check out another Theory of a Deadman video that I did for some reason, then tap here, or tap here for another recent episode of Gone Wrong. All of my socials can be found in the description. Thank you to my patrons that support me, and I will see you soon for more right here on ARTV.